Inside the Deck is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, sellers of Magic the Gathering and many other card and board games. GatheringMagic.com, your #1 resource on Magic the Gathering, strategy, and culture.
My name is Daniel Signorini, and the name of my deck is Team America. It's kind of a misnomer because most people kind of think of Team America as being red, white, and blue, but the name originated as kind of a joke and sort of stuck. Team America is just a bug aggro control deck. And you got your usual customers for Legacy. You got Daze, Force of Will, some discard usually. Right now for this tournament I'm playing Thoughtseize because I think it's really good in the format right now. And I'm playing Delver of Secrets, Tombstalker, and Tarmogoyf as my threat base. Actually, I've been playing this deck for quite a while. I was actually one of the creators of Team America, and the other one being David Gearhart. So it kind of originated from a blue-black, heavy disruption, aggro control deck that we were just messing around with to the bug iteration that it is now. Some people would say, why aren't you playing Griselbrand? I actually tested it against the Griselbrand, the unfair Sneak and Show, Reanimator, those kinds of decks, and it actually comes out ahead in those matchups because you don't really have to commit a lot to the board, especially with Delver of Secrets, and then all your disruptions lie for the rest of the game, and they have to play into you. That's what the discard allows it to do, at least. Also, I just know the deck really well. At a big tournament like a Grand Prix, you never know what you're going to run into, so it's nice to be able to really know what your cards do. Well, right now I'm actually running a few more cantrips. I'm running an Ice Age cantrip called Portent, and it's essentially like a slow tripping ponder that you can use on your opponent as well. But the cool thing about Portent is it also works with another thing that I changed with the deck, which is to add Temporal Mastery. And that looks like kind of a sketchy kind of card for a lot of people in an aggro control deck, because what happens if you draw it in your opening hand? What happens if you don't have the mana to cast it when you don't want to? But the thing about the card is it actually gives a lot of push against the more fair decks in the format while maintaining a lot of your disruption against the unfair decks. For instance, against Maverick, a deck like Rug Delver, and its only flyer is going to be Delver of Secrets, which is really easy for them to focus all their removal on. But Team America has Tombstalker as well. So you end up in these board states where you create this huge air force, and then Temporal Mastery becomes a ton of damage. So it's almost like a way to go unfair against the fair decks. I've got my 4 Yard Hate spells, which are diversified between 2 Tormod's Crypts, a Nihil Spellbomb, and a Grafdigger's Cage. That accomplishes a few things. Nihil Spellbomb will come in against a deck like Rug, whereas Tormod's Crypt or Cage isn't going to come in there. You want to be able to shrink Mongoose for free, or if they're playing Snapcaster Mage, to be able to neuter that guy as well. Outside of the Graveyard Hate, there's a lot of removal in the sideboard. The 2 Diabolic Edicts are for Sneak and Show, and mainly as an answer to Show and Tell Emrakul. It's not the most reliable thing that you want to be doing against a Griselbrand, for instance, but it's not like you're just dead when they resolve a big guy. It's nice to have the Edicts, and you have dead cards. Also, Edict is a house against Rug, just because it kills everything that they play. Mongoose can be a problem. Edict usually solves it. The 1 Engineer Explosives is kind of an overlap between Rug Delver and Maverick, as sort of your sweeper answer to Mongoose. It'll answer Mother of Runes or Equipment in the Maverick matchup. And it's also nice to have against the Elves player in the room. Somebody that's trying to swarm you. Sweepers are always pretty good in Legacy. The 2 Deathmarks are specifically for Maverick, and that's pretty much it. So that's my 2 slots that I'm saying, I need to have a little bit of extra push against that Maverick deck. I need to be able to kill Thalia or Mother of Runes pretty reliably and pretty early. So Deathmark is the only card that really does that, and also will kill a big Knight of the Reliquary if you draw it later. So the Dark Blast is insane against Maverick, but the one of is once again because of Knight of the Reliquary. It's kind of awkward to draw Dark Blast when you need to kill that guy. We've got an extra Maelstrom Pulse, which is a supplemental removal spell that can come in against the Stoneforge decks, and just generally, like Mud, for instance, or some deck that you want to just blow up their toys, like Countertop, the Thopter decks. It's nice to have the Pulse there, and it kills Jace, which is also nice. We've got our 2 Spell Pierces and our Thoughtseize. The 2 Spell Pierces are good against the control decks that want to try to resolve Planeswalkers. You really want to be able to answer a Planeswalker on the stack, and Spell Pierce is really good at doing that. Sower is another card to bring in against Maverick that affects the board in a huge way, especially when you're racing them. Like taking a Knight of the Reliquary is gigantic in that matchup. But it's also another way to sort of blow out Sneak and Show. Not very reliable when they have Sneak Attack, but it's another card and it pitches to Force. So that's basically it. That's how the sideboard came to fruition and why those cards are in there. Looks like a jumbled mess, but there is method to the madness. As far as the popular decks in Legacy are concerned, you're ahead against Sneak and Show and Reanimator. You're about even against Rug Delver and Maverick, and things like, off-the-wall stuff like Blue-Red Delver or Burn, Black-White decks with a ton of removal and Edict effects or Pox, that kind of stuff. That's where the deck kind of struggles, when they can sort of focus on your one important resource, which is your creatures usually, or in the case of Blue-Red Delver, they're just able to win the race a lot of the time. So that's sort of how the spectrum works with the deck. I think Thoughtseize is probably the biggest reason to play this deck in this current Legacy format. Sneak and Show is just everywhere because Gristlebrand is just a hugely overpowered card. So being able to interact on the stack and directly with their hand is really key to winning those matchups. So Thoughtseize is a huge draw. And also Tombstalker to trump Rug Delver's threats and to fly over Maverick's guys. That's usually the main reasons why you want to go with Bug. It's nice to have removal that kills big guys like Night of the Reliquary and such. Occasionally that removal becomes dead in some matchups, so it's sort of a trade-off that you make. But yeah, I'd say Thoughtseize and Tombstalker are the major two draws. It's a challenge both from a deck building perspective and from a playing perspective, which is what I like about it.